Last month I was flown out to Tokyo by Lumix to attend a global event, and they unveiled 2 new cameras and a new lens.
It actually works.
I've been absolutely dying to tell you guys what it is, and I've had to hold my tongue so much when a few of you guys have reached out to me both in the comments and on Instagram, but now I can finally tell you that yes, they have finally done it, and damn have they done it really well. Introducing the brand new Lumix S5ii. Please check out the chapters of this video in the description that have each new feature clearly labelled, and strap yourselves in because I've got a lot to talk about with this new camera. So the S5ii will go on sale for around £2,000 or $2,000 US, so bear this fantastic price in mind when we dive deeper into the immense value that you're actually getting here. They also announced another new camera and a new lens at the event too, and I've actually made a separate video talking about that second camera coming in May of this year, so if you'd like to hear about that then be sure to check it out after you have watched this video. I still recommend watching this video first though, as a lot of the core changes are the same between the two bodies. For all of those out there who have cursed the AF in Lumix cameras, you can now rejoice because the S5ii now features phase hybrid detect AF with 779 focus points. Not only is it quick, accurate and very smooth, I'd actually go as far as saying that it rivals Sony's AF directly in reliability and performance. This AF system doesn't feel like a first attempt either, and it's definitely not riddled with issues like some of the other manufacturers are still having, like Fuji and Nikon for example. I had the pleasure of talking to some of the Lumix engineers while I was out in Tokyo, and they told me that they've actually been working on phase detect for quite a long time, but they just wanted it to be as good as possible before the technology was introduced to their cameras. The new AF system uses phase detect along with the benefits of the DFD technology that they've been constantly improving over the last few years, and I've done multiple tests with the S5ii and there's absolutely no pulsing whatsoever, just super clean, quick and reliable AF. I've even tested the autofocus with some of my Sigma L-mount glass, and my Sigma homeboys out there will be delighted to hear that the autofocus performance is just as good with their lenses too, so that means you can happily buy and use Sigma lenses without worrying about AF. This is such a huge deal for the company and also a huge deal for the industry in general, because now the biggest issue of Lumix cameras is truly fixed, plus the amazing ergonomics, video features and incredible IBIS are of course still here to stay. And speaking of IBIS, this has also been improved as well. And we can all agree that Lumix have always been the top dogs with in-body image stabilization, but they've taken it one step further with the S5ii by implementing a new advanced algorithm that gives you 200 times better IBIS performance, and this is optimized for walking and tracking shots. Up on the screen now are a few tests I shot while I was in Japan, and when I look back at the footage I was honestly shocked at how gimbal-like it looked. Bear in mind I was also using a lens that has no IS, and the setup was bare bones with just the camera and the lens. These examples were also shot without any other stabilization modes activated, so that means no boost IS and no E-stabilization, just the stabilization inside the camera itself. We'll get onto the video shoot and specs shortly, but let me just run you guys through the other physical changes of the S5ii when compared to the original S5, because while the form factor has remained quite the same, Lumix have still listened to the feedback from the S5 users and of course improved accordingly. There's a new sensor in the S5ii that's still 24 megapixels like the S5 sensor, and that is of course due to the new AF system. We now have a full-sized HDMI port, so that means no more silly micro HDMI for the S5 series. There's also been a huge EVF improvement as this camera features a 3.68 million dot OLED EVF, a big upgrade from the predecessor. There's now active cooling with vents that are very cleverly hidden in the EVF block on the top of the camera, allowing better heat dissipation and full camera operation in temperatures up to 60 degrees Celsius. This camera still has dual SD card slots, but the second slot has been upgraded from UHS 1 to UHS 2, meaning you can utilise the faster write speeds with both slots. There's a new joystick that allows you to move your focus box diagonally, up, down, left and right, and the AF on button has also been changed and is now less recessed and easy to press, which is great because the AF on button on the S5 was a little bit crap to be honest. I think that's all of the physical changes covered, so now let's move on to video recording. The S5ii now allows truly unlimited video recording in all 4K resolutions, codecs and frame rates, so no more 30-minute time limits. You can now just shoot until you fill up your cards or until the battery dies. And this is largely due to the active cooling system and will be a huge deal for anyone who films events or any long takes in their line of work. We now also have true 6K 3x2 open gate recording internally up to 30p, as well as 5.9K in 16:9 modes as well. The 6K options are 10-bit 420 just like the S1 and the S1iix. The S5 II can shoot in 4K up to 60 frames a second, and yes, there still is an APS-C crop when you record in this mode. There is an improvement in color sampling for the 4K 60 modes though, since we now get 422 10-bit instead of the 420 10-bit that we saw in the S5. There's also a slight bump in the bitrate on the 422 10-bit version of 4K 60 as well, and that's been increased to a data rate of 200 megabits a second as opposed to the old 150 megabits a second. Unfortunately, there's still no 4K 120p, but the higher frame rate modes have still been improved. Beforehand on the S5 you're limited to shooting any frame rate above 60p in the S&Q mode, which conforms the footage in the camera to either 25p or 50p, so essentially your slow motion playback happens internally. But now you can access 1080p up to 100 frames a second outside the S&Q mode with a much improved bitrate of 150 megabits a second. You're also getting full 10-bit 422 color, so this is a big difference when you compare the 100p mode on the S5 that had a woeful bitrate of 25 megabits a second. Another very nice change on the S5 II is the audio recording function, which is now like the GH6 and allows users to choose between low and standard gain modes, plus dial the input gain all the way down to minus 18 decibels instead of just minus 12 decibels. This should give you cleaner internal audio recording and was actually one of the things on my wish list for the S5 successor. They have also added the Varicam style screen display as we've seen in the GH6 and the S1iix, so video shooters will love being able to see all of the settings super clearly on the LCD screen. Another really interesting addition to the S5 II is a real-time LUT mode that allows users to bake in their chosen LUT to the video file so you don't have to do it in post. So this essentially means that if you're always using the same Vlog to Rec 709 conversion LUT, that you can actually bake that conversion into your Vlog file and save yourself a step in the editing workflow. Or you can even choose a stylized LUT and use that as well. This opens a doorway to some really interesting in-camera color and contrast correction functions, so it could be something really interesting to look out for. I will have a whole video coming out very soon on this one feature, so if this does interest you then please keep your eyes peeled over the next week or so, or if you're watching this video way after the release date then I'll leave a card to that video somewhere on screen now. For still shooters, there's also some key upgrades as well, like a 30 FPS electronic shutter with a buffer of 200 RAWs and 200 JPEGs captured simultaneously, so the new AF system, incredible IBIS, and much faster burst mode should make this a great choice for the sports shooters out there. I think that's everything to cover on the S5 II for now in terms of the new features and upgrades from the original S5, and as I said, I will have many more videos coming out on the S5 II that dive deeper into certain features and functions, including in-depth setup guides, AF mode comparisons, and everything in between. They also announced the S5iix, a second camera body to join the S5 lineup. This camera is set to share all of the new features that we just covered on the S5 II, but with some extra ones as well. I've made a whole video on this camera including the differences between the S5 II and the S5iix, so definitely check out that one if you're interested. Adding Phase Hybrids Tech AF to their new bodies will open the floodgates to all of those people who have always wanted to shoot with Panasonic but have held off due to the contrast detect autofocus system, and my trip to Tokyo made it super clear that they are actually listening to all of the feedback they have received from their users. I'd absolutely love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on the brand new cameras and of course the new lens as well. So let's start a discussion in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts on the direction that Lumix have decided to move in, and of course let me know if you're intrigued and might even pick up an S5 II or wait it out for the S5iix. It'd be great to hear your guys' thoughts, and I know this is going to be big news for quite some time, especially for those in the L mount community. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found it somewhat useful, entertaining or interesting, and if you did then please subscribe if you haven't already done so, because I do make a lot of videos here surrounding the Panasonic S series and the L mount ecosystem in general. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and hopefully I shall see you in the next one.